Welcome to Petros Family Tax. What we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to read a pay stub. And I know, probably the most fun you're ever going to have right now. If you wanted, I would probably just either print out your pay stub or have this video on your phone or something while you have your pay stub up. That way you can kind of follow along and kind of see how it applies to you. So we're going to go through a bunch of different lines, some key things, and we're going to learn together. So let's go ahead and dive in. So this is a pay stub that I just found online, and had a bunch of different types of deductions and everything, and so we're going to go through a couple of the key things that we look at when we're looking at a pay stub, particularly for taxes. But I'm also going to point out a few other things that will be helpful and probably a little bit more noticeable here in the future. So the first is we're going to see, typically you see the pay rate. So if you're salary, for example, you'll see the annual amount. If you're hourly, you'll see the hourly amount. And then on a pay stub, first thing to look at is to see the beginning and end date. This will be helpful in determining if you're paid every 2 weeks or if you're paid bi-monthly. So bi-monthly means 24 paychecks a year. Bi-weekly is 26 paychecks a year, and if you're in that system, typically get an extra paycheck 2 months out of the year. So that'll help as far as some of the tax withholding a little bit later. So that'll be the first thing I would point out or take a look at. Second thing is going to take a look at the types of income. When you look at a pay stub, one of the things that you want to point out is just the different types of pay. So you have a regular pay, sick, bonus, holiday or PTO, vacation, and overtime. One of the things I'm going to point out in particular is that mobile communication. Some companies, particularly smaller companies, they can actually reimburse you for some of your mobile phone expenses, particularly if they expect you to use your own personal cell phone. They can essentially have a $75 a month or $100 a month pay, and the key thing there is it's non-taxable to you. So that's one of the big benefits of that, having that it's called a fringe benefit, particularly for small employers. So if you're part of a small business, that's one idea to maybe share with your boss, because they can use it as a deduction, but then you don't have to pay payroll tax, and neither do they. So that's one of the first things. Then I'm going to go down into some of the before tax deductions and then after tax deductions. So what is taken out of your paycheck before you pay income taxes on it, or after you pay taxes on it. So the first one here, this is the retirement plan. If it's in the before tax deduction, that would also be considered a traditional 401k or traditional 403b, and that's a tax deduction you get when you put money into that retirement plan for that long-term savings. The other thing to look at are some critical illness or disability. So if you are paying for disability in a before tax bucket, one thing to keep in mind, if something does happen to you and you need to be on disability insurance, if it's a before tax deduction, then if you're on disability and let's say you get 60% of your income, that will be taxable to you. If you are paying for the premiums after tax, then, and you're disabled, need some additional income, prostate cancer, if you're the one paying that premium after tax, then when you start to get that disability income, it is non-taxable to you. So just be aware of that, particularly if you're a high income earner or a solo income earner and you have a disability type of event and it's before tax, just know that that lower income amount, that would also be taxable to you when you start to receive it. One other thing I want to point out here is if you see like a legal plan, sometimes it's called like Legal Shield or different vendors. If you see that legal plan, that's available to many employees when they sign up for their benefits. And you may have signed up for that legal plan a couple years ago to get your will for really low cost. But if you don't need access to that anymore, you already completed your will, it may be that you don't need that plan. And so that could be a $15, $20 a month type of savings next time you have your benefits enrollment. If that's something that you do need to do as far as a will or power of attorney or healthcare directive, make sure to keep that on and figure out how to get that free will as part of the package since you're paying for it. The other section that we want to touch on is this after-tax deduction. And so this after-tax deduction, this would be, so you're paying tax on it, whether it's being deducted from your paycheck. A lot of times you'll see that in Roth 401k contributions or or Roth 403B contributions, Roth TSP, mainly for the retirement account side of things. So just know that you are taxed on that income, but it's still deducted from your paycheck. Now let's get into the taxes. We did a video earlier if you had to pay into taxes a bunch. One of the ways to fix that is to adjust some of your withholding. So what we're going to look at is how much are you withholding. So let's take a look here. If see this Fed ME and OASDI, that's Medicaid and Social Security. So those are taken out no matter what. One of the things you can adjust is federal and state withholding. So on the federal side, one thing to do if you're looking at your pay stub is to take a look at either the year-to-date or the current, and then compare it to the year-to-date earnings or this paycheck's earnings. So let's just take a look at this $182.98, and divide it by this 1,627, and about 11% tax withholding. Now you have a couple of deductions in that before tax deductions they can take out as well. That's just how much you're taking out for federal taxes compared to some of your income out there. We want to do the same thing here for your state. So let's say that's $61 for state tax withholding divided by the 1627. It's about 3.75 as far as withholding for state. If you need to adjust that, take a look at our other video, but that's one of the things to look at, particularly when you're looking at a new job. If you pull up your new job's pay stub compared to your last pay stub of your previous job, and just kind of see how the numbers shake out. A lot of times when you have a new job, that payroll service doesn't necessarily know a whole lot or make some estimates as far as how the income is for the year. And so that's a key thing to look at when you get a new job, is that first pay stub and compare it to the previous employer's pay stub. The last thing to take a look at that we're going to cover today is the employer paid benefits. And so if you're unsure, for example, if you're participating in an employer sponsored retirement plan, you're unsure if they are contributing either for profit sharing or a match. Typically you can see it in the pay stub as far as how much your employer is contributing to either that health insurance plan or that retirement plan. And you can see that right here. So retirement plan, they're contributing $278 and change. And then the state health insurance plan, they're contributing $239 compared to your contributions to that health insurance plan of $7.52. That's a very nice ratio, very generous for that employer here in this made-up example. So I hope you found that helpful. I know it's probably not the most fun thing to look at, but I hope you found it helpful and avoid some surprises in the future and just start to understand what's going on this pay stub, because there's lots of different programs, lots of different benefits, and hopefully you found that helpful. And if you did, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Thank you so much.